ESPN Thoroughbred Classics, the Alabama Stakes. Presented by the NTRA. Go, baby, go.
Dancer's Image is the leader in forward passes, coming up into second place. Francis Het charges into third, and it is just yards to go. Dancer's Image is trying to hang on, and charging is Francis Het, but it is Dancer's Image that wins it by 2 lengths.
Peter Fuller made headlines when his homebred Dancer's Image won the 1968 Kentucky Derby. Later that spring, Dancer's Image became the only Derby winner in history to be disqualified. A prohibited medication was found in the colt system. Fuller lost a long court battle, but like a resilient fighter, he didn't stay down for the count. I'm Jim McKay, and with me is my old friend Jack Whitaker.
Well, Jim, you know, almost 2 decades later, Peter Fuller was back in the limelight and thumbing his nose at the racing establishment. In 1985, he won a championship with a 3-year-old filly named Mom's Command. His jockey should have been Angel Cordero, they said, or Lafitte Pincay. Instead, he picked his daughter, Abigail, and took great delight in confounding his critics.
I'm a breeder, and as you know, my famous lines, I bred the filly, I bred the jockey.
A look at the all-in-the-family career of Mom's Command when ESPN Thoroughbred Classics continues. Mom's Command had her own idea of how to run a race. Ignoring any suggestions to the contrary, she broke from the gate and immediately took the lead. She did things her way. So did her owner. After all, he's a Republican from Massachusetts, and that isn't easy.
Amen. But Ted's a good friend. That helps. Ted Kennedy. We wrestled together. He was younger. Of course, he's younger than I am, but we wrestled at Milton Academy and so on. So we've all been good pals.
Fuller's father, Alvin T. Fuller, was a Republican too. He was also a maverick of sorts. Alvin T. Fuller was elected governor of Massachusetts twice, in 1924 and 1926. Peter Fuller inherited his father's stubborn independence. He could have lived the life of a spoiled rich kid. Instead, he joined the Marines in World War II, and he boxed. He fought under the alias Peter Bond. In 6 years as an amateur heavyweight, Fuller compiled a record of 50 wins and 5 losses with 30 knockouts. He was never one to shy away from a fight. After Dancer's Image was disqualified in the 1968 Derby, he spent $150,000 and 3 years fighting the ruling before Calumet Farm runner-up Forward Pass was officially declared the winner. Of course, Fuller does not recognize that decision. This billboard still stands on his farm in neighboring New Hampshire.
One of the elements of the disqualification of Dancer's Image was that Peter Fuller had actually donated to Martin Luther King's campaign, his fight for racial equality. And I think that whether that's true or not, that was part of it. It really became a very controversial situation there. And I really think that Peter really never forgot it. I don't think Peter ever will forget it.
The streak of Fuller independence continued with his daughter Abigail. From the day she watched her dad's Dancer's Image cross the wire first in the '68 Derby under Bobby Ussery, she dreamed of becoming a jockey.
The first race I ever remember seeing was Dancer's Image winning the Kentucky Derby. I was the youngest of the kids in the family that got to go. And Bobby Ussery was my hero, and just that was an amazing time. About 2 years later is when the women started, probably 1970, 71, and I knew, I was like, I'm gonna do this someday.
She rode her first race in November 1981 at Suffolk Downs in East Boston, and her first winner the following July. 3 years later, Peter Fuller would return to national racing prominence with the filly he bred and his daughter rode.
Mom's Command began her career in New Hampshire, and she wasted no time in making a splash. Her first start was a stakes race, and she won it at odds of 44-1. She won her second start, too. Then it was off to Saratoga to compete with the big girls in the Spinaway Stakes. Of course, that also meant pitting Abby Fuller against the big boys, including Angel Cordero Jr., who took no prisoners. Some believe the Spinaway was evidence that 26-year-old Abby shouldn't be riding good horses like Mom's Command against jockeys like Cordero in championship races.
Angel was in front, and I tried to come through on the inside, and, you know, he shut the door, being the great race rider that he is.
Mom's Command is third by 3, then Appealing Siam. Contradance is making up ground. They're at the top of the stretch. The half in 45 and 2. Tilta leading, still has the lead by a length. Sociable Duck is second. Contra Dance, unbelievably, has moved into third. They passed the 8th pole.
Mom's Command finished fourth in the spinaway, the only time she would ever be out of the top 3. And after Mom's Command was beaten again 2 races later at Belmont, Abby was replaced for Laurel Salima Stakes by Greg McCarron, the older brother of future Hall of Famer Chris McCarron. McCarron won, but it would be the last time anyone but Abby rode Mom's Command in a race.
Abby came off the horse because I felt she needed a little rest, and I felt that she should look things over and think about it, and also realize that, hey, in the end, this is a business, and a tough one.
The Salima was the only one of Mom's Command's races that Abby didn't see.
He did want me to come down, and I said, I've got mounts here, and I'm going to be riding them. I've got a couple of winners. And, you know, I'm feisty myself, and I felt like, well, I've got to hold my ground.
She and Amar immediately got very quiet with me, as you can imagine.
I just felt like it wasn't totally my fault, and you know, he changed his mind, probably with some persuasion from my mom, too.
In the spring of 1985, Mom's Command was a 3-year-old and faster than ever.
They race through the lane, coming to the furlong pole. Mom's Command in front by 8. Appealing Girl is second. Classy Cut is third. A 16th of a mile to run. Mom's Command drawing out in front by 15 lengths.
Abby and her father's horse headed back toward New York to try for the New York Racing Association's Triple Crown for fillies.
Mom's Command continues to lead at the 16th pole by about 5 lengths. Le Legend is second. It's Mom's Command in front.
She used her blinding speed to win the Acorn and Mother Goose easily. But the critics in the Big Apple were difficult to please.
Well, I wasn't much of a fan of Mom's Command at the time, and Peter Fuller and I disagreed about the filly frequently. Because Mom's Command would go out like blazes in her races. She'd open a big lead, and then she wouldn't finish very strongly, but she would come home and win. And so I would always knock her for her slow finishing time.
Yeah, Steve was a real critic of Mom's Command, but probably more Abby.
Yeah, he was brutal. He really seemed to almost have like to me, it seemed a little bit like a personal thing.
People at the time, I think, were very leery of women riders, and they felt, well, here's a case of obvious nepotism, and she wouldn't have gotten the mount if it were any other trainer, any other owner.
But as long as Mom's Command kept winning and his daughter held up under the scrutiny, Peter Fuller wasn't concerned at all about criticism.
Concerned about it. He was not concerned about the criticism at all. He loved it. He just, you know, Peter's the kind of guy that he does things his own way, and if you don't appreciate it, he just gets a kind of a little tickle out of it, you know.
Hey, my daughter rides for me. What else is new?
And it's really kind of amazing during all that criticism during the Philly Triple Crown and at Saratoga, the Alabama, that Abigail really put her game face on. She'd come into the paddock and she would not look nervous. She would just look a little, all right, I'm going to go get him. And her whole concentration was on Mom's Command and winning.
And I really felt like that. I mean, in the room before, I would kind of, you know, psych myself, steel myself, kind of do a little breathing, a little warm-up stuff. But once I got out there, and especially once I got on to her, I felt really confident.
I didn't feel on my heart trying to do anything to harm her, because it was more a love affair between father and daughter. So it was nothing in my mind that I would say that I could do to scare her or try to get on a horse or something like that. That was one lost case.
I had extreme, supreme confidence in her, as she did in herself. You could feel it in the pulse parades. Everyone will tell you when they're on a really good horse that's in really good form, you can feel a horse's confidence, and she had it. And she was so awesome. She'd just break out of there and blow them away. What were they gonna do?
They're all. Mom's Command gets away very nicely. On the inside is Collecto's Jill with Admit and Miss Hardwick. Those four are heads apart as they race past the stands. Mom's Command on the outside takes the lead by about a half. Mom's Command continues to go clear now, has the lead by 6. Collectus, Jill second by a length. Bessarabian on the rail, moving up in third on the outside. Foxy Dean further out is Denver Express. They pass the 8th pole. Looks like Mom's Command can do it. This is going to be a filly Triple Crown winner. Mom's Command with Abigail Fuller aboard, winning by about 6 lengths. Then Bessarabian is second. It's Mom's Command in front.
Well, I remember that I thought I was going to catch a filly all the time. I never thought that Mom's Command can go that far. And in my mind, all the way to the 8th pole, I said, she's going to stop. I'm going to get it. She's going to stop. I psyched myself to it, but I didn't psych my horse. I could not catch him.
We'll look back at the historic Alabama Stakes on ESPN Thoroughbred Classics. Mom's Command led all the way to win the mile-and-a-half Coaching Club American Oaks and sweep the Phillies Triple Crown. But an even tougher challenge lay ahead. She went on to Saratoga for the final start of her career in the Alabama Stakes.
The Alabama is the race that really gives you one more look at the best 3-year-old fillies in the country after the so-called Philly Triple Crown in New York. And the reason why it often is the defining race for the 3-year-old fillies is that you might have a New York-based horse who likes Belmont Park, who likes the one-turn races, who does very well in that Philly Triple Crown series. But then you move tracks, you go up to Saratoga, you've got a race at a classic distance of 1.25 miles. It's around 2 turns, and sometimes, frequently in fact, you'll get a horse from California or the Midwest, and it really becomes the showdown race. Because if a filly can do very well in the Philly Triple Crown, sweep it or win 2 legs and win the Alabama, she's just about got that 3-year-old filly championship locked up.
Saratoga is a very, very special place in all of New England racing fans' hearts. The Alabama is such a prestigious race. And it was the fact that only one other filly had won the Philly Triple Crown and the Alabama, being Shuey. And that was very important for Peter, especially after the Philly Triple Crown, where maybe Mom's Command wasn't given the credit that she deserved.
Flying in from California for the Alabama was Franz Valentine, who had beaten Mom's Command in their only previous meeting. Riding Franz Valentine was future Hall of Famer Chris McCarron. The pressure was on Mom's Command and Abby Fuller again. Win the Alabama, and the 3-year-old filly title would be hers. Lose, and the critics would surely pounce.
They're all in line, and they're off. Mom's Command going for the lead, has that lead by more than a length on the outside. Franz Valentine, then Razor Q, Golden Horde, and Foxy Dean. They pass the stands the first time. Mom's Command leads by 2, then Franz Valentine is second, Razor Q is third, then Golden Horde. About 2 to Foxy Dean. They approach the clubhouse turn. Mom's Command leads the way by about 2.
He was off our flank to the outside, but pretty much trying. And a few times I could hear, the whip like on the shoulder and a little smooching, and I was just sitting. And I knew, and then we got to the head of the stretch, just let her out that notch, and it was over.
They're at the top of the stretch. The 1.36 and 3. Mom's Command still leads the way by 3. Then Foxy Dean is second. On the outside, Franz Valentine is back into third. About 5 to Golden Horde, and Razor Q is 5th. They pass the 8th pole. Mom's Command continues to lead by 5. Now Franz Valentine once again moves into second, and Foxy Dean is third. A race to the wire with Mom's Command in front.
And that was huge. I mean, I remember, obviously, the Philly Triple Crown as well, but I remember after that just kind of swelling up after the race. Not in myself, but in, wow, phew, yeah, we did it. We did it. We really did it.
The last 5 times Angel Cordero faced Abby and Mom's Command, he finished behind them.
She run into a lot of pressure. Being a girl, riding a horse with that magnitude on a race like that, she handled it very well.
Angel got so close, it was fun. And he put his face right up to mine. I've always loved Angel, thought he was a hell of a guy. And he says, I love Abby. And and I'm probably gonna say, yeah, so do a lot of other people. He said, I'm sick of looking at her ass. I said, Angel, you're gonna keep right on doing that. A lot of fun.
Jim, Mom's Command won the Alabama by 4 lengths and wrapped up the 3-year-old fillies championship. She also wrapped up her career because Peter sold a half interest in her, and she was retired to the breeding farm.
That's right, Jack, but Mom's Command had returned Peter Fuller to the national racing scene 17 years after Dancer's Image.
Without Mom's Command, I think Peter would have had a void. The Dancer's Image controversy may have been tougher to deal with, later on in his life without having Mom come back and just put him back in the winner's circle without any controversy other than maybe from the media. And it also, I think, it helped him deal with Dancer's Image. It brought Dancer's Image back into the public consciousness, and I really think that Peter felt that Mom's success also did a lot for Dancer's Image.
His daughter Abby, well, she had proved that she could compete against the Angel Cordero Juniors of the racing world. At Mom's command, she answered her critics the only way she knew how.
When a filly wins the Philly Triple Crown and the Alabama, it's kind of hard to put the knock on her anymore.
Basically, I think that it's that feeling that, wow, you see this thing happen and you realize that it's your daughter and you say, how can this get any better? It can't. So, get down on your bare bony knees and thank God.
How important is the Alabama Stakes? Well, for one thing, it's the oldest race for females in the United States.
And if you've been around long enough, you may remember some of the famous winners. Belle Dame, Masquette, Top Flight, Busanda, Tempted, Gamely, and Chouvy. Today, they each have important stakes races in New York named in their honor.
The list of owners that have won an Alabama trophy is just as illustrious. The famed Calumet Farm, Samuel Riddle, who owned Man o' War, Paul Mellon's Rokeby Stable, Meadow Stable, which raced both Secretariat and Riva Ridge, and King Ranch, to name just a few.
And you can't overlook Ogden Phipps, who has a unique distinction. He won the Alabama twice, 44 years apart. In 1950 with Busanda, and in 1994 with Heavenly Prize. Jorge Velasquez rode a record 5 Alabama winners.
Coming to the finish, our Mims has just ahead with Sensational alongside. Those two will battle it out to the wire.
The Alabama is a race that you love to win because you know about the prestige of the race, and especially if you have a filly with a good chance to win. And then it's kind of, like excited to be in the race, and you don't want to mess up, you don't want nothing to go wrong. And it's a race that everybody that is involved in racing would love to win.
On the inside, up the Appalachie, back into second, but coming on again. They pass 16th pole, up the Appalachie on the rail, without feathers on the outside, and those two race to the wire with up the Appalachie in front.
But one of the most interesting racing stories belongs to 1970 Alabama winner Fanfreluche. Fanfreluche was 3-year-old filly champion of 1970, as well as Canadian Horse of the Year. 6 years after her retirement, she was bred to Triple Crown winner Secretariat. And in a plot straight out of a Dick Francis novel, she was horse-snapped from Kentucky's Claiborne Farm in broad daylight the afternoon of June 26, 1977. A worldwide horse hunt coordinated by the FBI turned up nothing. Her owner had given up hope of finding her alive when 6 months later, the FBI and Kentucky State Police received a tip and found Fanfreluche, shaggy but healthy, on a small farm in southwestern Kentucky. She had been living there as a family riding horse named Brandy.
The farm owner had found the mare walking down a rural road shortly after her disappearance, when her abductor apparently panicked and turned her loose. Just before the authorities found her, Fanfreluche was nearly sold for $200 to a horse trader. A year later, with a little Secretariat weanling colt at her side, she was sold for more than $1 million, at the time, a record price for a broodmare. The Secretariat colt, who turned out to be not nearly as fast as his famous sire or dam, was named Sain et Sauf, French for safe and sound. And that's it for another Classics presentation. This time a retrospective on the prestigious Alabama Stakes for 3-year-old fillies from Saratoga.
And of course, a look back at one of the most fascinating father-daughter relationships in racing history, that of Peter Fuller, his daughter Abby, and Mom's Command. For Jack Whitaker, I'm Jim McKay, thanking you very much for being with us on this edition of ESPN Thoroughbred Classics.
This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com.